So my name is Britt Rosso, Center Manager with the Wildland Fire Lessons Learned Center. Quick fire background, I spent about 21 years on a hotshot crew. I spent a few years as a district FMO, and then I've been working at the Lesson Learned Center for about the last 3 or so years. I'm here today to talk to you about the Yarnell fire. We're all struggling with how to process what happened on June 30th, 2013. I know we're all struggling out in the fire community about where are the lessons, what are the take-home messages, what can we learn from this incident. What I want to share with you is how important it is to talk about it. Not only to talk about it, but to let you know that it's okay to talk about it. And it's important that you do talk about it. Share what you've learned by reading the reports, by watching the videos, and have open, honest, respectful dialogue. Be willing to listen to other people's opinions and have that respectful dialogue with your fellow firefighters. By having this dialogue, by facilitating these conversations about Yarnell, this is where the learning is going to happen, is with you and your brothers and sisters out there in the field. This is the 20th anniversary of South Canyon. We're still learning from South Canyon 20 years later. Yarnell just happened 8 months ago. We'll be learning about the Yarnell incident for years to come. Time and patience are going to be key for learning from this incident. So I ask you to just take the time and be patient as we work through this together.
There's a problem that the nation needs to look at trying to solve. Fires are getting bigger and more extreme. Since the South Canyon fire in '94, there have been 400 wildland firefighters killed and 40,000 homes lost.
He sent me a text message going to a 500-acre fire in Yarnell, and that was the last time I heard from him.
Hashtag Granite Mountain 7!
Is Granite Mountain still in there?
I could just see all these wives just crying.
Your escape route has been cut off. We are preparing a deployment site.
I found out that people that I loved died.
The wildland fire scene has changed dramatically. In the urban setting, there's really no place for open fire. Urban sprawl is colliding with wildlands. That matters because these two don't mix. Fires in one don't belong in the other.
We're losing property, we're losing lives because people are choosing to live there. This terrain will easily, produce a 40-foot flame line.
People are in danger now because the climate has shifted on us. In the desert Southwest, it's getting drier and drier every year.
The fires are burning hotter and they're burning faster.
If some of the climate change models play out as predicted, we're going to see the fires move to where the houses are. And at that point, it's a real game changer. There is really no way to protect those structures. Under extreme conditions, this is the equivalent of a tornado coming through. Why are you sending people in to protect houses? There's nothing they're going to be able to do until those conditions change.
The Yarnell Hill fire started by a lightning strike high up on a mountain desert ridge. The fire smoldered throughout that night. There were several small fires started.
In the desert Southwest, the atmosphere is so dry that these big raining thunderstorms all evaporate before it even hits the ground. But the lightning sparks all this dry tinder and you've got a wildfire in an instant.
One of the crews that was dispatched early on the morning of June 30th was the Granite Mountain Hotshots. Hotshots are a very highly trained group of about 20 people, and their job is to go into wildfire situations and bring wildfires under control.
It was a Sunday, so we were hoping that Robert wouldn't have to go to work. I could tell that he was not happy to have to get up so early that morning. I kind of watched him get his boots on and he kissed me goodbye.
When they have early mornings like that, sometimes I can manage to actually get up with him and visit for a few minutes while he drinks some coffee or whatever, but that morning I didn't. So I think he probably left about 5 o'clock. I could hear him walk down to my kids' rooms and gave them a kiss, told them he loved them, and gave me a kiss goodbye and told me he loved me. And he walked out the door. That was the last that I saw him.
We got a briefing that we're going to Yarnell for a lightning fire. It was really not that active. It was kind of just skunking around.
If anything, I thought, oh, he's going to be home early tonight. It's a local fire. It's a little fire. It's not a big deal, you know.
We had started hiking in, and it was hot. It was 10 o'clock, and I was sweating hard. Different than normal. We dug line, did some saw work in there.
Hotshots don't typically carry water hoses. They're not going out there and putting the fire out in the sense that a fire department would put the fire out at a house. They carry different types of hand tools to clear shrubs or trees or brush and create open spaces that can help stop the progress of a fire.
Came around, met back up with Eric, and that's when he asked me to be the lookout. We had seen a point down low where I could really get some good eyes on it and had a good way out, good safety zone for if anything were to turn south that day. I could see the fire and see what it was doing, and it was just really progressing away from us.
The fire was over in this hill over here.
Sonny and Joy are local residents in the Yarnell area who happened to be hiking that afternoon before Granite Mountain Hotshots even arrived.
So we just did our climb up the hilltop of Yarnell, and we finally did find the fire, and we saw a lead fire crew.
We weren't too concerned about it early on because the fire wasn't that bad.
About 3 hours into my lookout position is when the weather came over the radio. He tells me the wind shift we're gonna get. That's moving quick.
43-mile-per-hour wind gusts coming from the complete opposite direction. Now the flames are coming right for them.
I could feel the breeze coming that way, and that was scary because if you watched the fire going up that mountain, it was doing 30 and 40-foot waves of fire,
like
tornadoes,
a tsunami
and
roll,
rolls.
you know?
For me, that was kind of alarming. When that wind shifted, the concern had turned to me because of my proximity to the fire.
Maybe I ought to pick you up. Brad, let's just get him off the hill.
I remember looking back before I left and seeing what the fire was doing. I see this intense fire starting to pick up.
It's going pretty fast. Yeah, it is.
It went from like a white, calm smoke to like a black smoke. Black usually means it's burning pretty intense.
It was a full-fledged wildfire. It was no longer human containable as far as I was concerned.
I'm moving pretty quick. I get a hold of Steve and Eric and I let them know, hey, at the vehicle, I'll see you soon.
At about 3:30 in the afternoon, the Granite Mountain Hotshots are located in a safety zone high up on a ridge overlooking the town of Yarnell. And it was a safety zone because it's an area where the fire had already burned through. That's called being in the black. One of the operation supervisors radios the Granite Mountain Hotshot crew leaders and asks the crew whether they could deploy resources down to Yarnell. The Granite Mountain Hotshot crew leader responds and says, no, we're staying here, we got good black, we're not moving anywhere. But the videotape captures a conversation about the comfort level about some sort of action that's getting ready to take place.
Oh, I was just saying I knew this was coming when I called you and asked her what your comfort level was. I could just feel it, you know.
Moments later, the hotshot crew decides to leave the safety zone and move down into what is clearly a very dangerous situation. Why would they change their mind? Well, that's the big question that I think a lot of people are going to be debating for years to come.
Once they enter into that drop, they can no longer see directly what the fire is doing. And at that time, there's nobody looking out for them that could have told them that that fire is about to turn the corner. So what they see is a huge flame front starting up towards them.
Breaking in on the 6 feet! Granite Mountain Hotshots, 3 and 4 to the
It's moving like 12 miles an hour, and that's too fast to outrun.
Once it goes, I mean, there's no stopping it. It's almost impossible to stop. Unless they've got those huge airplanes that are retardant, that's the only thing that can slow it, and that only slows it down.
Zach, Granite Mountain 7, how do you copy me?
The division soup is trying to bring a huge aircraft to drop some retardant someplace close to his crew.
Zach, Granite Mountain 7!
The hotshots are cut off. Well, the question is, where's the crew at?
Is Granite Mountain still in there? Oh, they're in safety.
The ops people want to drop, but they're saying they don't know where the crew is.
Division Alpha Bravo 33, I need you to pay attention and tell me when you hear the aircraft, okay? Because it's going to be a little tough for us to see you.
I hear saws running, that's not good.
You could hear saws in the background, so they're starting to saw out some brush to clear an area to deploy their fire shelters.
Okay, Granite Mountain 7 sounds like they got some trouble. Go ahead and get that, just trying to get you on the radio. Let's go ahead and see what we got going on. Okay, I'm here with Granite Mountain Hotshots. Our escape route has been cut off. We are preparing a deployment site, and we are burning out around ourselves in the brush. And I'll give you a call when we are under the shelters. Okay, copy that.
Fire shelters can withstand radiant heat, but if the flame touches the shelters, it'll melt a hole in it and expose the firefighters to intense heat.
If a wildfire fighter has to start to consider deploying a shelter, it's a situation where things have really gotten out of control.
The fact that they had to do that obviously was a serious situation and took my awareness to what was happening to a new level.
One of the operations chiefs told me, "Did you hear what happened?" Granite Mountain deployed. I had pretty much pulled myself out, was just listening and praying for their safety at that point in time.
I got a call from a very good friend of mine, and she had kind of told me what was on the news. I was hoping the media just had it wrong. Found out that I was supposed to meet at a designated location.
I actually called Desiree, and she said to meet at the school.
By the time I got there, I still didn't know what happened exactly, but obviously I knew it was bad.
A lot of my friends, Robert's friends, were crying their eyes out. It was like, what happened? And nobody knew anything. They were just crying.
I mean, to get that kind of a reaction out of that many people, it's bad.
I grabbed the Prescott firefighter and I said, "Is my husband alive?" And he just said, "What's your name?" And I told him my name, and he just shook his head and he said no.
The original report was 18 had perished, and then a few minutes later they confirmed that there were 19.
Right below is where 19 heroes.
Yeah, the fence off the side is where they passed away. Where the white is down there. We've been hiking it because we want to get to the bottom of this thing and the truth of this whole deal. This is a roll of tape that had burned into a ball. It was probably a remnant roll. Kind of sad that they didn't get a hold of this fire early on. That's, my opinion about the thing.
The mystery of what happened hinges on why the crew left the ridge in a burned area and went down into a box canyon filled with boulders and brush. What they hoped to achieve, why they abandoned many of the sort of fundamental tactics that are taught, I don't know why. And none of the investigative reports have come up with an explanation yet. Nature doesn't care about this. Fire is just going to do whatever its circumstances allow. The way you control fire is by controlling what is out there. So we're going to have a lot more fire in the landscape unless you take control of the landscape itself.
My kids are 3 and 4, so I didn't want to give a lot of detail. They don't need it. I told them that Daddy had an accident at work and that he was in heaven and was not able to come home.
It wasn't somebody's home, it was somebody's well-being that he would have been willing to die for. He would have done anything so that somebody wouldn't have to go through pain like that, you know. He was a very remarkable human being, the most I've ever met in my life. And you would have probably thought so too.
These men changed my life for the better, for the best. Their goal was to make me and everyone on that crew and everyone they surrounded themselves with the best person they could be, inside and outside of work.
You know that saying, time flies when you're having fun? Well, I really look forward to the day that I get to be in heaven with my husband. But if I don't have fun, it's gonna be a long time. So if we all have as much fun as we can and try to live good lives, then I'll get to heaven and I'll get to be with my husband again.
We can't rest on our laurels anymore. I mean, we've gotten to a point where these events are becoming so extreme. It's a call to action.
This is an unprecedented loss in wildfire fighting, 19 people. Unless we get a better handle on how fire crews are going to operate in these very, very dangerous situations, this scenario could happen again.
Do you see this getting worse?
Can only hope and pray it doesn't.